8 out of 8 it is for the Indian cricket team. Absolutely a dream run for the men in blue. They now stand on top of the points table and are guaranteed the number 1 spot. This at a time where other teams are still fighting to qualify for the semi-final. India have not only qualified, they've guaranteed themselves the number 1 spot. So India, their latest victory has come against South Africa. India beats South Africa. I don't think that will do justice to the kind of performance that we saw from Rohit Sharma and his men. I think India demolished South Africa would be better. They beat Sri Lanka with a massive margin of 300 plus runs. They've beaten South Africa by 243 runs. This South African team, according to many, is the second best team in this tournament. Can you see the gap between top and second? You are watching the match report with me, Nikhil, and as always, we are going to take a look at the 5 big talking points on India's win versus South Africa. Let's start with the man who won the Man of the Match award, Virat Kohli, getting to his 49th ODI ton, now at par with Sachin Tendulkar for most ODI tons. Sachin himself has said it, and a very funny tweet at that, saying that it took me about a year to get from 49 to 50. He was obviously talking about his age, not his hundreds, but he said, I hope you get there soon. Who knows, next game versus Netherlands, Virat Kohli would get to his 50th ton. But an outstanding achievement. All I can say is it was never really a doubt from 2012-13 onwards, when Virat Kohli came into the form that we've seen him, for the last decade or so. It wasn't ever a question of if he will reach this landmark. It was always a question of when he will reach that landmark, and he's done it, might I add, on his 35th birthday. What an occasion. Usually when you have a birthday, you tend to receive a lot of gifts. What he's done is given a lot of people who love this sport a gift on his 35th birthday. I know there is also a section of cricket fans that have, especially on social media, that have raised doubts about this 100, saying that he slowed it down. It did seem like that he was playing for his record. If I can add my 2 bits to that, listen, firstly, what is the harm in anyone trying to get to 100? I don't see any harm in that. He's not the first batter to do that. Most batters are that. They are always hungry to get runs. Secondly, and I think that's the more important point, which is if you take a look at how the South African batters batted, it gives you an idea of how tough the conditions there were. If you've seen a few other Indian batters bat, you would realize how tough the conditions were. Yes, maybe with the new ball at the start it may have been easy, but as the game progressed, because it was a dry pitch, it was a tough situation to bat on. Even Virat Kohli, what's his comfort zone? His comfort zone is to play a runner ball, and then he accelerates towards the end. So when he gets to 100, it's at 110, 120 sort of a strike rate. That's his comfort zone. Why was he at an 80 strike rate? It wasn't because he was just going for those 100, because the conditions were tough, and now you have the benefit of the hindsight to see. In fact, Rohit Sharma pointed out what an important 100 it was. On another occasion, if another team batted better than the South Africans versus the Indian bowlers, you needed a winning total which was above 280, 290, and that is courtesy Virat Kohli's knock. So sometimes we need to appreciate, respect the conditions, and he has the ability to get you that 100 even in those tough conditions where everyone else seemed to be struggling. So I think you need to celebrate that quality in him and not look at strike rates just basis of what strike rates you're seeing in the tournament. Every ground, every condition is very different, as you can see from the rest of the game. So that's our point number 1. Turning our attention to point number 2, and I think this man needs to be spoken about, Jasprit Bumrah. What happens is we often take a look at just the scorecard, and if you read the scorecard, there is no wicket in front of Jasprit Bumrah's name. He ended up with 0 wickets. Everyone else picked up a wicket. Ravindra Jadeja picked up a fifer. But why I say he's an unsung hero? Because he is responsible. He is one of the reasons why the Indian bowling lineup is looking so potent. It reminds me sometimes, of a few IPL teams. Remember Sunil Narine? He would apply all the pressure and batters would be careful against him. And then when they needed to increase the net run rate, they would take chances against other bowlers, and the other bowlers ended up getting wickets. Similar for Rashid Khan. Though Rashid picks up a lot of wickets, sometimes batters try to play him out. That's what Jasprit Bumrah is doing, and he's one of the major reasons. Don't look at the wicket column. let it be known that he's not in the top 10 wicket takers of the World Cup. Doesn't matter. He is still the number one bowler that you have at this World Cup because he's making batters look like fool. Let's talk about Quinton de Kock, been outstanding in this World Cup. He was the one, if he gave South Africa a good start, who knows, they may have come close to chasing India's total. But Jasprit Bumrah, he didn't get Quinton de Kock's wicket. Siraj got it, but he played a major role. Made him look like a novice in that over. He just could not get back the ball. From there on, Jasprit Bumrah sets the tempo. I was reading a stat, I'm not 100% sure, but in the power play this World Cup, his economy is less than 3. That says a lot about this man. He's a man we need to celebrate a lot more. Amazing skill, makes the ball talk just with slight movement of his wrist. Amazing control over the ball. Talking about unsung heroes, let's not forget Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma, the captain, has been brilliant throughout this tournament. You saw how he used his fast bowlers when the game was in Wankhede, reading the conditions very well. Different conditions here at Eden Gardens. You needed to bring a spinner on early. Exactly what Hitman did. So he's been bang on with his captaincy, but I want to spend some time talking about Rohit Sharma's batting. Selfless knocks that he's been playing. You know, he very well could have got a couple more hundreds in this World Cup, but that's not the role that he's playing. I'm not saying people who get 100 are being selfish. All I'm saying is you need different people to fill different roles in a team to succeed. Just as you need accumulators, you also need the ones that push the tempo, the ones that are dashers, which set the tone for a game. And that's exactly what Rohit Sharma has been doing. So beautiful to the eye. The way he was timing today gave you that sort of an impetus. And remember, that was a time where you could take on the bowlers. The ball was new, not doing that much. Later on, it got even tougher to bat on. He's been doing that at a consistent basis. He's putting the team's interest ahead of his own interest. He's mentioned that earlier, that his own average is suffering, but he rather look at the larger picture. And as captain, he's doing that. So another one of those heroes, may not be in the top 5-6 run getters this World Cup, but in terms of impact, has to be in the top 2 or 3. Point number 4, and this is a glaring weakness about South Africa that stands exposed. Take a look at South Africa, and now this is not just an anomaly. It's not just that's happened once or twice. It's happened consistently in this tournament. South Africa, when they've batted first, 428, 311, 399, 382, 357. South Africa, when they've been batting second, 207 all out against Netherlands, not even a test playing nation. 271 for 9 versus Pakistan, won that game, but huffed and puffed their ways to the victory. Very tough situation here. Against India, 83 all out once again. Clearly they have a weakness while they are chasing. That takes me back to that New Zealand game. What was Tom Latham thinking when he won the toss and said, South Africa, you do what you do really well and bat first. And New Zealand ended up losing that game. I think from here on, this Achilles heels of South Africa has been exposed. They will definitely qualify for the semi-final. But if I'm the team facing them, irrespective of the conditions and what might happen in the game going forward, what the pitch is like, I would want to put South Africa chasing. Because what it'll do is, it'll expose them to their weakness. It'll also be in the back of their minds. They would know that this is an issue and they might just panic. So that's that one area that whoever faces South Africa is going to look to exploit. Finally, point number 5, and this actually tells you how dominant the Indian team has been in this tournament. Qualified, not only qualified, guaranteed on the number 1 spot. And that brings me to a point. Is this the most dominant team in a World Cup? Absolutely. 83, they won, yes. 2011, they won, yes, but they had a few hiccups on the way. This team, outstanding. They haven't won it yet. Of course, this comparison could be done once they match up with that 2011 as well as 83 winning a tournament. But dare I say, they're on their way, of course, to be the most dominant Indian team if they win the World Cup. But I think the question there would be, are they the most dominant team ever in the World Cup? I remember 2 teams that have been completely dominant. West Indies in 79, 2007 Australia. I was there in the Caribbean covering that World Cup. And this Indian team's performance, where they're dismissing teams for 83, winning sometime by a margin of 300 plus runs. No team has even come close. The only one that kind of gave them a run for their money was New Zealand. And that also I have to really search for it. That tells me that even compared to that Australian team of 2007, this is a more dominant performance so far I have to say so far, because the tournament has not been won, but so far they're even more dominant than that 2000 Australian team. I'm not saying they're better, because that Australian team were dominant across formats, winning multiple tournaments for a long period of time. This Indian team has not done that. So I'm not comparing, don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing this Indian team to that Australian team overall. I'm only limiting myself and being very specific about a World Cup, just a 50 over World Cup, the most dominant team in a 50 over World Cup only. And there I see India even ahead of that Australia 2007 team, provided they win the World Cup and if they continue this sort of performance. I hope you enjoyed looking back at that India versus South Africa game. If you like the video, do give us a like on the video and share it with your friends who are cricket freaks. And for more such content, don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today.